This edition of MacVoices is brought to you by Take Control Books, the answers you need now from leading experts. Learn more and download yours at takecontrolbooks.com. Welcome to MacVoices. This is the Talk of the Mac community. I'm Chuck Joyner. Folks, another old friend is finally coming to check in with us. Maria Langer is I guess author is the appropriate title of Up and Running with Twitter from lynda.com. It's great to see you finally, Maria. You've been hiding.
It's great to be seen.
Yeah. And I'm a little confused because I think I see sunlight coming in the windows behind you, and I thought you lived where the sun doesn't shine. I thought it just rained all the time in Washington.
No, I moved to Washington State last year, and I moved to the Sunnyside where, not to the town of Sunnyside. There is actually a town called Sunnyside, but I didn't move there. I moved to the east side of the Cascades where it's kind of desert, with a big old river, the Columbia, running through it, and it's wonderfully dry and sunny every day. And this time of year, we get the benefit of the really long days. It won't get dark now till after 9 o'clock tonight, and we're not even into the longest day of the year yet. So it's really pleasant here, and it's the same kind of dry that I had in Arizona, but it's also green, and there's it's farming community that I live in, and there's a lot of I feel like I'm part of the earth here, because I get to see things grow and see the cycle of life. And Arizona just didn't have that for me, so I like it here.
Yeah, but you seem to have this thing for basically hot and dry. Arizona now, a desert in Washington. What's next?
Next is the seashore, but I got 15 years. I stay in each place for about 10 to 15 years, and then I'm ready to move. And I've been here a year, and they're just building my house right now, and I hope to live in it for at least 10 years. And then by that time, I'll be ready to kind of go into this semi-retirement, and I'm going to definitely retire to lakeside or oceanside or something with water, but not cold. Definitely not cold, and not crowded, and not full of old people. So, which is what. I have to say one thing is it does get cold here in the winter. In fact, there's a ski resort, not in my town, but the next town over, which is the big city around here. There's a ski resort there, and they get a lot of snow. I bought cross-country skis and been doing winter sports. So I got winter and I got summer. So it's good.
That's great.
Yeah.
So, folks, if you have property that will be up for sale in about 10 years that is near water, warm, and without old people, call Maria. She'll be in the market.
I'll be an old person, too, but I don't want to live with old people. Yeah. I want to live with young people.
Well, I also have to say, you're still flying, obviously.
Yeah. I do most of my work now. I actually make more of my income as a pilot now than as a writer. And it's been like that for, I'd say, about 3 or 4 years now. My main business here, which is kind of weird, that's what brought me to Washington. I do cherry drying, and everyone always wants to know, what is cherry drying? The story is that the cherry trees, the last 3-4 weeks before they harvest the cherries, so they're all on the trees, they're ripening. If they get wet from a rainstorm, which we do get, we do get rain. It's just that we don't get a lot of rain. The cherries will absorb the water through the skin, and when they do, they will expand, and the skin will crack and split, and the cherries are no longer saleable. So growers of cherries hire pilots with helicopters to stand by, and we basically are on call during daylight hours. So it's a long day in the summertime, and so it's about a 16-hour day. We're on call. We don't have to go there and hang out, but we're ready to answer the phone, and we have to be in the air within 10 minutes of a call. So we're watching the weather every day and all that. And then when we get called out, we hover over the cherry trees, low level, about 5 feet over the tops of the trees, back and forth, about 5-10 miles an hour. And the downwash from the rotor blades blows the water off the trees, and it dries the cherries, and we save their crops, and we're heroes, and they pay us. And that's a good thing. So, it's actually quite a good business. It's tedious, dangerous, not terribly dangerous, but terribly tedious. Yes. I listen to podcasts usually while I'm flying, listen to music, but it's good stuff.
Well, I'm glad that I'm happy that you're making that much of your living drying cherries, but I'm also happy that you still have a significant writing and recording component, and that's what we're here to talk about.
Yeah.
So anybody that listens to the show knows you and knows that you record for lynda.com, their training courses. This one, though, I have to say I'm kind of intrigued by. You have done a brand new course called Up and Running with Twitter.
Right.
So why do we need an Up and Running with Twitter? It seems pretty simple on the surface, or is it?
Well, in all honesty, I've been writing Twitter courses for Linda I think I wrote the first one 5 years ago. And we updated it 3 years in a row. Then we took a 2-year break, and then we updated it by actually creating a new course. The other course, which is still existing in its last updated state, so it's 2 years old now, is called Twitter Essential Training. And it goes into a lot more detail than Up and Running with Twitter. But what Lynda.com discovered through talking to people and getting reviews and whatnot was that people like shorter courses. They seem to like shorter courses. So the Up and Running series of courses that they do is a lot shorter than Essential Training. Essential Training really goes deep into a topic, whereas Up and Running is just, it gets you up and running, basically, just what you need to know to get up and running. Twitter is, on the surface for you and me, it is pretty basic stuff, but there's some things to it. Not everyone is as savvy as we are. And there's also a lot of people who need to use it for business. Maybe they do marketing, things like that. And maybe they're not necessarily computer savvy. And I go into a lot of details about how to use it and a lot of advice. I've been using Twitter since 2007. Twitter was only about a year old when I got on with it. And I've been using Twitter pretty solidly that whole time. And I have a lot of advice to share. So I share that and, tricks for basically making the most of it. So, there's a lot there. And it's actually, believe it or not, I've also done for Linda, Microsoft, was it Word or Office? I think it was Word. I don't even remember my courses. I'm so bad. Microsoft Word Essential Training back in 2010 for the 2011 version of Microsoft Word. And believe it or not, the Twitter course does better than that. More people watch the Twitter course than the Microsoft Word for Macintosh. So, which maybe that's not so surprising.
Yeah, I'll withhold nasty Microsoft comments.
Yes. Well,
no, it is interesting, though, because as I sit here and think about it, what to me shows off the power of Twitter and the feature set is when you take it over to an iOS device, and then you realize that the iOS authors have tried to give you all the power of a desktop client, and then you start to realize just how much power there is in this thing and how many different ways it can be used.
What people seem to struggle with are things like hashtags. They always want to know what hashtags are. That was my most received question in my older version of the course. And they don't understand like what's the difference between a mention and an @reply and things like that, and the character thing and how to attach a picture and all these different things. And what's interesting right now is that there's definitely a difference between the Twitter desktop version, or I should say web version, and the course pretty much covers mostly the web version. And the iOS or the Android clients, or the iOS or Android basically, they actually support more features than the web version. For example, on iOS and I assume Android, you can put in multiple pictures at once, which you can't do on the web version yet. You can also tag people in photos, which you can't do on the web version yet. So there's a whole bunch of different features like that they're catching up. I have a friend that recently got a job with Twitter, and he can't tell me about stuff that's not announced. But he can give me ideas of timelines and, when things are coming down the pipe. And the good thing is, I recorded the course, I think it was February when I recorded it, and it went live in, I guess it was the beginning of April. So it's been about a month now that it's been live. And since that time, we've already had to re-record we re-recorded 2 videos and we added a video. Because of changes in the way the profile works. And I'm trying to remember the other video that we added. I can't remember it offhand. I just did it the other day. But I had to go down to Linda for some other courses that are coming that I can't really talk about. And while I was there, let's bring Twitter up to date. So the other good thing about the Lynda.com courses in general is that they work really hard to keep them up to date. So anytime that I'm there, I'll be visiting my Twitter course to see what's changed, what's new. And while I'm in when I'm done with the booth for whatever other course I'm there for, we just knock off a couple of videos about Twitter, and then they go through edit. And insert them or add them or whatever they have to do. So that's great, which I couldn't do with books. Just couldn't do it with books.
Now, there are definite advantages, and there are advantages to Lynda the way they do it, because they break their courses up into different topics for each subject, and so that allows you to go and update a particular piece of it if something changes.
Right. They also have other Twitter courses. There's Anne-Marie Concepcion wrote one about using Twitter for marketing. I can't remember what it's called. Something about business with Twitter. I think Facebook is also mentioned in that course. But there are a number of they cover different topics. Lynda, that is, covers different topics from different points of view, different needs. It's focused on what you might use the software for. And if they need different authors to do that, they do. So there's different voices involved, which is good too. So,
do you have an opinion as to and does the course cover your favorite iOS client or Mac client for that matter? This particular course does not go into detail on the iOS stuff. We do, I believe, one video that shows, I think we did use iOS. I think we actually used my phone for it too. Used an iOS client to show them basically how it works. But because of the format of this, the up and running versus the essential training, instead of having a whole chapter with maybe 5 videos about mobile, we only had one video about mobile. Well, actually we had 2, because we had the iOS app, where the Android app would be very similar. It wouldn't cover both. And then we also talked about using your texting through your phone, because you could still access Twitter's features, a lot of Twitter's features, by plain old texting, believe it or not. You could turn, a lot of people don't know that, but you can text, once you set up Twitter to work with your cell phone, and it could be any cell phone, it doesn't even have to be a smartphone, just as long as it can text. You send a text message, you hook it up so that the phone, that Twitter knows what your phone number is. So when you send Twitter a text message, Twitter receives it, knows who you are, and it puts it into your Twitter stream. And we have a video that covers that too. I don't know how many people do that. It's a neat way. I mean, if you don't have a smartphone, it's a neat way to use Twitter. But if you have a smartphone, I wouldn't even go there. Yeah, but it's an interesting feature. I'm trying to think of it would allow, as strange as this might sound, it would allow somebody else to post things to my feed.
If they had your phone, then sure they could. If
they had the phone, if you've set them up to do it,
right.
Don't misunderstand. Right. But it means that I wouldn't necessarily have to feed my feed. I could have somebody assist me with it.
Sure. Well, you could do that with a client though too. You could have give someone else your login information. I'm assuming that you're talking about like an assistant, somebody who helps you in the office or with marketing or whatever. Yeah, you could do that if you you'd have to trust them. Look what happened to Stephen Colbert recently. I don't know if you heard that whole thing. The Colbert Report had its own Twitter feed that was managed by somebody at Comedy Central, and they retweeted something and it got taken out of context, and everyone thought he was a racist, and oh my God, and the whole, and so his solution was, that's not my Twitter account, and to prove it, I'm going to have it shut down, and he did. And if you follow Stephen Colbert, the tweets that come out of that account is either him or somebody he trusts a lot. You have to, if you have somebody else tweet for you, you really need to trust them, because if it's got your name on it, they don't care if you say, oh well, that wasn't me, that was my assistant. Well, it's got your name on it, so yeah. And
it always strikes me as just a touch disingenuous if you're not the one feeding your feed. I mean, I understand that people are busy. I'm busy too. Yeah. And so, I don't post as much as I should and probably would like to, but I'm responsible for it. So until somebody, either hacks my feed or steals my phone, right? It's from me.
Yeah, and that's good.
And I'm sure that you would advocate the same kind of behavior.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't let anybody else tweet for me. One of the things that you might want to consider if you want to schedule tweets, and I do this not a lot, but I do this a little bit. Do you know Hootsuite? It's another website, and Hootsuite you can schedule tweets and Facebook updates, and the benefit of that is for example, when I publish a Linda course or a book or something else and I want to market it, I use my Twitter stream for that to a certain extent, not a lot. But usually I'll send out a tweet once every maybe 2 weeks, different times of the day, whatever. And then I'll run that for like 6 months. So I'll schedule them all, and they might all say the same thing or nearly the same thing, and they'll link to a certain thing. And I'll schedule them all, one afternoon, and then they'll dribble out over time. It's kind of cheating, but if I didn't have that scheduling capability, I wouldn't remember. And it's not like I'm abusing it by every tweet I do is scheduled. It's, like I said, about once every 2 weeks, maybe.
Yeah, so. I use Buffer app for Buffer for that.
Okay.
And only because there are things that I want to tweet out or do a secondary notice, say of a MacVoices going out,
Sure.
but I want to do it my time in the middle of the night so that it hits either Europe or Australia at prime time.
Sure.
So could I set an alarm and get up? Sure, but the tool is there.
No.
Why not use it?
Yes. Oh, for sure. And I vary the times on mine so to hopefully get a different audience each time. Some of them are early in the morning, some of them midday, and some of them are late in the evening, thinking that who am I going to get? The idea is to capture my audience. My audience is mostly U.S., but basically any English speaking would be my audience.
Right. And that includes a lot of places in a lot of different time zones.
It does.
Yeah. Maria, to go back to what you were talking about with Stephen Colbert, do you issue any warnings to folks about how to use Twitter, about what's appropriate to put on Twitter or what isn't?
I do have a video. I'm trying to remember if it's that course or the Essential Training course. The Essential Training course, I should mention, still exists. And in fact, I recommend people visiting that course, looking at least at the table of contents, to get coverage of topics that I didn't have room for in the newer course. A lot of that stuff really doesn't change. And I had a whole video, I know it was in that course, I'm not sure if I put it in this course too, of Twitter etiquette. And it goes into a lot of detail about doing a lot of, different things that you would do in Twitter. And I just hope people pay attention to that because it's something I think is really important.
This edition of MacVoices is sponsored by Take Control Books, the answers you need now from leading experts. Joe Kissel helps you examine and secure your confidential information in his book, Take Control of Your Online Privacy. You may not be of interest to the intelligence agencies, but how about marketing firms who want to sell you their products, whether you're interested in them or not? And there are always the bad guys out there who are interested in everyone. Online privacy goes way beyond just improving your passwords. Joe shows you how to manage your internet connection, protect yourself while web surfing, secure your email, share files securely, and more. Security expert Rich Mogul, the CEO of Securosis, says that Take Control of Your Online Privacy is the first comprehensive and practical guide to protecting your privacy in the digital age. Joe helps you make and implement the right privacy choices for your life. Joe will be touching on this subject by participating in Josh Center's NSA panel at Macworld iWorld 2014, and you can hear an extended discussion with him about the book on MacVoices number 13176. Don't just sit there. Protect yourself. Take control of your online privacy at takecontrolbooks.com and start protecting your online privacy today. Take Control Books, the answers you need now from leading experts. Thanks to Take Control Books for their support of MacVoices. Okay, so Twitter etiquette. I'm really curious because it seems like there are some wildly divergent opinions here about using Twitter with other social media services. And I'm thinking about the ability to cross-post to, say, Facebook.
Right.
And I'm curious as to what your take is on this, simply because I know what mine is. And so by having a position, I automatically agree with half of the experts.
Let's see. I do cross-post some things. I don't cross-post everything. The way I look at it, my Twitter audience is different than my Facebook audience. I have more Twitter followers than Facebook friends. Plus, Facebook does all these weird things with their timeline algorithms, and who knows who's seeing what of mine. Facebook also has the ability to make certain things more private through setting privacy options, and basically narrowing it down, making not public, but maybe going only to my friends or only to my close friends or people in my aviation group, for example, or something like that. Those, if I wanted to focus it onto a specific group for whatever reason, chances are it would only go on Facebook and not on Twitter, because if I'm going to make it on Twitter, I may as well make it public on Facebook as well, right? If it's public on Twitter. Right. In general, I think you have to post for your audience, whatever social network you're on. I know that it bothers me when I follow someone on Facebook and Twitter and every single post is exactly the same on both networks, because I feel like what's the purpose of following them in both places? And what I eventually do is I wind up unfollowing them, usually on Facebook, and just stick with them on Twitter. And that seems to work pretty well for me. I don't really have any strong don't do it or strong do it. I just feel every tweet or every Facebook update is different, and you should decide on based on your purposes. What are your purposes for posting? Are you trying to reach out to friends? Is it something that your friends on both sides would be interested in? Or are you trying to market something? Maybe marketing something on Twitter might be okay, but like might post about my lynda.com course on Twitter every 2 weeks, through a schedule. But I wouldn't necessarily do the same thing on Facebook. I might post it once on Facebook, or I might post something on my page on Facebook, which I don't actually maintain, as versus my personal my personal timeline. So,
interesting.
What is your point of view? I'm just curious. You say yes or no, or are you in the middle too?
I'm more yes than in the middle, simply because I have no problem sort of announcing to the world and making it very clear that Twitter is my social network of preference. Yeah. Followed closely by Google+. Facebook is not so much, for just exactly what you said. There's so many weird things they do that you can't tell if anybody is seeing your stuff or the people you want to see it. But at the same time, there are people there that I would like to connect with. Yeah. Egotistically speaking, I think they want to connect with me. Otherwise, they wouldn't be my friends or ask to be friends. Right? So, I feel like, okay, if this is your preferred social network, that's fine. I'll send it to both places or have it automatically cross-post. Mm-hmm. If you respond to me on Facebook, I will get an email that says, hey, they commented or whatever, and I will, respond that way. Yeah. But I just don't enjoy the Facebook experience nearly as much.
No, I don't either.
So, and the very fact that if I send a message out that has @Maria Langer and it gets cross-posted to Facebook, it obviously came from Twitter. It's not like I'm hiding anything. Sure. So, there it is. And if you are uncomfortable with that, don't follow me on Facebook, and I have no problem with it. Mm-hmm. So that's just my version. No, it makes sense. Makes a lot of sense. Yeah. I'd like Facebook to go away, actually, but too many of my friends are on there. I think I saw somewhere recently that's like the third largest country right now and still growing. Oh, yeah. I don't quite know why, but it is. I don't know. The whole thing, I think the thing that drives me crazy most right now with Facebook is seeing the fact that the timeline is never in order. You tell it most recent, and they decide that most recent's got nothing to do when it was originally posted. It has to do with how recently somebody else commented or liked it. And then it just sometimes pops back up. And things could come up from like months ago at the top of your screen like it's brand new. And it's not. Well, Twitter is always going to be in chronological order. So that's the way I want it. I prefer Twitter. And it's interesting that it seems like the younger generation who hopped on Facebook for so long are now hopping off because their grandparents have found it. No, isn't it cute to follow little Johnny or Susie? And Johnny and Susie don't want to be followed by grandma and grandpa, so they're finding other things. Twitter doesn't seem to have that same. I don't know. It doesn't have the same dynamic. And not at all. I'm not quite sure why. I think it's because the older folks, the grandparents and the parents of the older people, like my mother, for example, who's not that old, but she's not that young either. She just wouldn't get Twitter. They don't get it, so they're not on it. Whereas Facebook, it seems more, maybe because you can say as much as you want, maybe because the pictures always appear right there. They just seem to get it better.
But I'll admit to you that my certain family members of mine had sent me friend requests, and I just ignore them. I don't want to be friends with certain family members on Facebook. I just,
Is this true confessions, Maria? What's going on here?
Just they're my family. I don't necessarily need to be. My Facebook life is different.
And that is, I think, one of the issues that I tell people, that with Facebook, they force you into a two-way street. With Twitter, yes, someone can follow me, and I don't have to ever know about them, see them, hear them, nothing, if I'm not interested. And it also allows me to follow people that probably don't care to know anything about my life. And I think that's a decent dynamic. And then if you want the option to follow each other, it's there.
Yeah, it's definitely true.
Yeah,
I don't know.
So, how many courses have you done now for Linda? I know you said you've been doing them for a while. Do you have any idea?
I started in 2008. I did some WordPress courses. There was a weird thing that went on with that, and I don't do their WordPress stuff anymore. But I started doing I did Microsoft Office Small Business Solutions or something like that for Macintosh. And then I did start doing Twitter pretty regularly, and I did that other essential training for Word, which I hope I get to revise when they come up with a new version of Word. Total courses is probably at the point, I've probably been to Linda like 8 times. Some of them were revisions, though, and some of them are no longer, quote, in print. They've been revised beyond me. So I think I've got currently about 4 active courses right now. I like working with Linda, the company. I keep saying Linda. Linda is a person too, of course, but whenever I say Linda, I'm talking about the company. Yeah. They have amazing quality control. All the recording is done in a recording booth. It's a soundproof booth. Not even the computer. The computer isn't even in the same room with you. You've got a monitor, a keyboard, and a mouse, and there's a wire that goes through the wall, and it hooks you up to the computer, because they don't want the sound of the fan of the computer, if it goes on, to get heard. There's on the other side, there's like a little window in front of there's the computer, and beyond that is the little window, and through there, in the other side of the soundproof booth, in her own little soundproof booth, is my editor. What is her title? I think she's not an editor. She's a production coordinator or something like that. I don't remember what her title is. And she will listen as I go. And if I'm usually reading a script because it's easier for me. But when I stumble over a word or I'm not clear, she'll push her talk button and she'll say, could you redo that? And I'll re-say it. And then it goes, when I'm done with the course, it goes into edit, and they edit out all the boo-boos and the long pauses where I try to find out where I was on the script and where the computer did something that I wasn't expecting, and I'm like acting with shock, or it does something wrong and I say, oh, something I shouldn't say, whatever. I won't say it here because you'll have to bleep me probably.
Thank you.
Yeah, and don't bleep me. Anyway, so I do all that, and then they edit all that out, and they make a nice, good video, and then they take it and they send it to the quality control people, and they will actually take the course and follow it with the example files and do everything. And then if they have questions for me, they'll ask me. They'll send me email, our quality control person thinks this or whatever. And then finally, when it's all addressed, it goes out to the world. And it goes out, they're much faster now than they used to be. Their turnaround time used to be about 2 months, which I thought was too long for a lot of things. But they're good now. They could turn stuff around in less than a month, which is really good. And their whole philosophy, or their whole, how would you call it even, their market model is you don't buy a course. When you subscribe to lynda.com, you subscribe to every single course they've got. And I call it all you can eat, because you go there, and if you want to sit down and you want to watch videos 24/7, it's not going to cost you a penny more than if you watch a video today and another video next week. And the topics are incredibly widespread, from computer stuff that I do, web-based computer stuff, software that we all know, a lot of video stuff, a lot of photography stuff, long courses, short courses, courses where you are seeing a talking head, kind of like the two of us talking right now. There'll be somebody who's animated and waving his arms around and talking about stuff, and then they'll maybe switch off to the computer screen. You'll see him talking. I don't come across as animated enough, so because whenever I have to read a script through a teleprompter, I just can't do it. If I'm natural, I can do it, but I can't do it through a teleprompter. So they've got all those things, management courses and everything that you can imagine. And when my sister lost her job a couple of years ago, when the economy tanked, I bought her a 3-month membership to lynda.com. I said, this is a great opportunity to, improve your skills and make yourself more marketable. It's just a good stuff.
Yeah. So. I've never heard anything but great things about Lynda, not just from the customer standpoint, but also from the author standpoint. I mean, Derek Story's been here to talk about it. Chris Breen, of course, Deke McClellan. Just everybody talks about what a quality operation is from the back side. And so that's going to translate into something very positive on the front side.
They treat the authors really well. I'm not saying they wine and dine us, but they'll fly us in. They'll put us in a nice hotel. Last time I was there, when I was there for the Twitter course, they moved their offices since the last time I was there. They moved to Carpinteria from Ventura, and they moved. The two cities are actually not that far apart, but they started using a hotel in Carpinteria because it was closer. And I went to the hotel and I didn't like it. There was no hot water I wake up really early, and there was no hot water at 5 o'clock in the morning, which most people wouldn't even know that, but I knew it, and I knew it every day, and it bothered me. So when I went back, I said, listen, I really didn't like that hotel all that much. The one in Ventura that I used to stay at, I really liked that a lot. They have a room that I really like. It overlooks the harbor. It's just a really nice place. Do you mind if I stay there instead? And they're like, no problem. And we booked it, and I got the room I wanted, and with the jacuzzi tub, and I had a nice hot bath every night, which is a real treat for me. And, got to look at the boats and walking around the marina and meeting people there. And it was just very, very pleasant.
And it was warm, and there were no old people.
Well, there were some old people, but it wasn't a lot of old people. I don't mind old people. I just don't want to be all old people. I want it to be a mix of people.
Okay. Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm having too much fun with that. We don't want to offend anybody.
No, I know. I'm thinking all the listeners are going to say, "Oh, Maria Langer, she's such a snob. She doesn't like old people. Wait till she's not that young. Look at her." Yeah. Sorry, folks.
Yeah, you got to have a little fun with some of it. Yep. It really is. So, as you said, you don't buy a course; you buy a subscription. Mm-hmm. If memory serves, I think you can get a 7-day trial to check some of the stuff out. Do you have any idea what the subscriptions go for now?
Boy, I really don't know the pricing on it. Okay. I know it's not much, and I also know that if people want to try it without buying it, I don't know about the 7-day. I'm sure they do. I think you need a coupon code for that, and I don't have any. They used to give us coupon codes. Maybe I should see if I could find a coupon code. You could put it on the website with this podcast. Yeah, I'll talk to them about it.
Okay, so look on the website, folks. MacVoices.com.
See if I can do it,
and we'll see if we can find something. But I'm with you. You really need to go and check it out. There's nothing like watching somebody do it.
And there's also on each course, depending on how long the course is, they give you there's free videos. And when you go to the course table of contents, they'll be clickable when you're not logged in. And that's how you know you can access them. And you can try out a couple. And they're not like just the junky ones. There's some good ones in there too. So you can really, you could try it out and see if you like it, and then go further with it. They don't just pick random ones, or they don't just pick the ones that they think will hook you. They actually ask the authors, which ones would you like to give away for free? And we get to pick. So
that's great.
I usually say, I don't care, whatever you want.
So this is up and running with Twitter. Mm-hmm. The website is lynda.com, lynda.com.
That's correct.
And we'll see if we can't get a coupon or something. So if you're interested, folks, please definitely check out the show notes and click through there, or use the coupon code, whatever we are able to arrange there. Yeah. Would be fantastic. Maria, it's been way too long. I hope it won't be as long between now and the next time.
No, I hope we can do it again soon.
Next time I want you to turn the camera around and we'll see your new house.
Oh, yeah. Next time, hopefully, yeah, maybe I'll be sitting on the deck. Wouldn't that be sweet?
That'll be great.
We've got a little bit to go there. I don't even have a roof yet, so.
It'll get there. It'll get there.
Yeah.
Thanks again. It's great to see you.
Okay. You take care. It's always a pleasure.
It is. It is. Folks, I'm Chuck Joyner. This is MacVoices. Please go check this course out along with everything else that Linda offers. I think you're going to be very impressed and very benefited by everything that's there. Until the next time, and as always, thanks for watching. Visit MacVoices.com for links, show notes, to subscribe, to connect with Chuck on Twitter, Google+, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Subscribe to our weekly newsletter, the MacVoices Dispatch, to stay up to date on all the latest MacVoices news from our front page or at MacVoices.com/newsletter. Advertising and sponsorships handled by Backbeat Media at BackbeatMedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CashFly at CashFly.com.